rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times. Star Wars #1.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Oh, chut, everybody. Welcome back to Rebel Force Radio. Great to be back with you all. Oh, what a fun show we have this week. We got lots of Mark Hamill. You know, every time Mark Hamill drops by, we got good stuff. He's been in the news recently. Mark has a tendency when he does these press opportunities, he's out promoting something, he makes news. Mark does. I think he's got a little ham in the Hamill, you know what I mean. And so we got that coming up. Also, any John Lennon fans out there? That's right. The martyred Beatle has a Star Wars connection. Yeah, I have no idea what this is, but apparently we're going to be making the connection in Star Wars in pop culture. I've been kept completely in the dark on this, so I have no idea what to expect, but apparently, yes, there is a connection between John Lennon, the legendary John Lennon, and the legendary Star Wars. Plus, the new Star Wars movie, that's starting to heat up a little bit. We got some casting rumors. We got some production updates that we'll share with you. So it's going to be a lot of fun this week here on Rebel Force Radio. Thanks again for tuning in, your source for the Force each and every week. If you are new to the program, and introductions might be in order, my name is Jason, and with me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Good to be back here. Finally, the weekly RFR has returned, and it's been like a month since we've had a normal show with all the segments and the news features and the listener feedback and the general fun we have here on a regular basis. Because there's been so much Star Wars stuff going on, we knew it was going to be a busy April and May. But the trickle down into June was a little more than I expected. Thank you to the Forest Moon Festival. And once you know it then, the following weekend, Joe Dallas comes to Chicago, RFR VIP Joe Dallas, to, well, the plan was me and him were going to compete at Qbert at the Galloping Ghost Arcade, the world-famous Galloping Ghost Arcade, where so many world records are set and the world's largest arcade around. So Joe came to compete with me on the Qbert machine, and the competition was non-existent. He mopped the floor with me, let's just say. And, I thought I was good at Qbert. I think there's some rust on the gate.
So how does Joe, does he have a Qbert machine in his house? Does he have an arcade nearby? Or is it just all muscle memory from back in the day? How does Joe keep his chops up?
I'm pretty sure he has an arcade. He has access to a Qbert machine because he sends me photos of himself playing Qbert. We have that kind of relationship.
I see. Okay.
But the way he was playing this machine over the weekend was a man possessed.
Wow.
And he went on one run on one credit that went on for about 4 hours. And he almost got onto the Wall of Fame at the Galloping Ghost as the third all-time highest score in house history. And he missed it by about 50,000 points.
Oh.
And we were really on the edge. So, but I went to the guy working at the Ghost. I said, "Hey, my buddy, he just busted 1 million on Qbert, and it doesn't look like he's going to slow down. The third highest score in house history is 1.6 million. So Joe Dallas only needed 600,000 more points, and he would have been on the Wall of Fame. But it was revealed to me that if you are going to make an attempt at breaking a record, you have to declare such attempt beforehand, and they set up a video camera on you, and your every move is watched on the board as you're playing the game, just to make sure there's no funny business going on. And when you look at a guy like Joe Dallas, you immediately assume there's some funny business going on.
What the hell kind of funny business could you do standing in front of an arcade game? How do you? What do you hack it?
You know, I mean, there are
magnets.
There are things. Well, it's not like they can watch each and every of the almost 1,100 individual unique cabinets that are on the floor at the Galloping Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So it is feasible that someone could pull out the machine away from the wall, pop back in there, and if they know what they're doing, they can make some sort of adjustment to the motherboard, giving them an advantage of some sort. I don't know. But, I mean, tricky.
Sounds like you're coming from a place of knowledge on this, by the way.
Well, there's a great film about this. There's a great film about this called The King of Kong. It's a documentary.
I've heard of this. Yeah.
These guys playing Donkey Kong for the all-time records. And, the extremes that people go to.
Wow.
To, showing up at people's houses, pretending to be delivery men so they get access to their personal arcade machine, and they do things like replace motherboards and stuff like that. It's real cutthroat, believe it or not.
That's like Luthen and Clea stuff going on there. I mean, that is major espionage, working on the cabinet while no one's looking, just so you can get the high score on the Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it's real cutthroat and kind of a waste of time, considering that nobody makes money setting the high score at Q*bert. You just don't make any money doing it. So it's all just, personal best kind of things.
Done for the love.
Competition nice and clean. So, yeah. But, I mean, so it's exciting to have Joe in town always. And he's an RFR VIP over there at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio, where RFR supporters can go to get things like full show video, bonus podcasts, and so much more. But it's just been so busy, like I've been saying, we had the Star Wars Celebration Japan coverage. Joe Dallas was there. We had Andor hitting us in such an intense fashion for 4 straight weeks with 3 episodes each Tuesday night in consecutive weeks. And then that was followed up by the Forest Moon Festival. Somehow I fit a trip into Las Vegas in there somewhere. It's just been mayhem.
Mac found an extra week somewhere where it didn't exist.
And a Joe Dallas visit to Chicago. So it's like, wow, it's almost like a spa day being here at Rebel Force Radio doing a regular weekly show with all the segments intact. Listener feedback. We're going to go into the RFR Sound Lab. We're going to have headline news, and there's a lot of interesting things going on in headline news. And, of course, we're going to bump Star Wars and pop culture just, out of nostalgia and tradition. But
we rack it up here every week, folks. Don't think that we don't have it ready, loaded, and it is ready and loaded every week, but we just can't seem to get to it. We've got some good ones, too. Hey, you mentioned RFR VIPs. There's a lot of great supporters of Rebel Force Radio. Another guy that's a great supporter of RFR is Jeff Holland. And I got something in the mail from Jeff. Jim, I think you did as well. We've got matching sets. So we opened this right before we started the podcast, so check it out. Courtesy of Jeff Holland, we each got the Lego Star Wars logo set. And this is part of their, their classier Legos. This isn't just any old set. This has the all black packaging. You know what I'm talking about, you Lego people. I'm sure there's a specific name for this line, but this isn't kiddie stuff. This is legit.
So classy.
I have to confess that mine is already opened, and my 12-year-old son Parker is working on it right now as we speak. So we may get, before this show ends, we might get a reveal of what this thing looks like. But he's slaving
the pressure's
away.
on Parker. The pressure is on Parker. Get her done, son. Get her done. Well, I don't know, but in headline news, I was going to save this for headline news, but did you hear there was a big sale on this set at the Lego store? Did you hear?
No, I didn't hear anything about this.
Yeah, it was a huge sale at the Lego store. As a matter of fact, people were lined up for blocks.
There you go. Jimmy Mack, author of RFR Dad Jokes. That book's coming out next fall.
RFR sad jokes, you mean?
But I did get a note. Mine came with the note. Please accept this small token of my appreciation for all of the hard work, passion, time, effort, and fun. As GL would say, it's got to be fun that you and J-Mac put into RFR. Thank you all for the awesome Star Wars content you guys have been putting out since 2006. I look forward to many more years of listening to you two talk about the wars. May the force be with you, Jeff Holland. Jeff, you're just the best. Thank you. That was really kind, very sweet. And I can't wait. I tell you what, it's going to be behind me next week. That's going to be a permanent resident there on the shelf behind me. I love it.
I didn't realize it, but I got a note from Jeff as well. Let's see, it says J-Mac.
There it is.
So I'm going to open it and see what this says.
Wouldn't it be embarrassing if it said the exact same thing?
Oh, it's Dear Jimmy Mac, I sent you this because I sent Swank one, and I didn't want to hear you bitching on the air about not getting one. So take this and shove it up your ass. May the force be with you, Jeff Holland. Wow, thanks, Jeff.
That's great.
Really nice. Wow.
Very thoughtful.
I look forward to seeing him and a lot of the RFR VIPs at RFR at Rancho Obi-Wan this September.
Yes. Yeah, it's coming.
It's going to be amazing. It is coming. It is coming. Tickets are on sale now, and they've gone super fast. So there's only a very few left. We've sold out like 95% of tickets. So that leaves only 5 left because we're maxing out things at 100. And it's going to be this amazing event. Of course, you've heard us talking about it a lot here on the show, but Rebel Force Radio is going to Rancho Obi-Wan for a live podcast fundraiser. We'll be doing a live podcast for the audience there. And the tickets are available right now at ranchoobiwan.org. All proceeds from this event will go to Rancho Obi-Wan and the Saga Museum. Me and Swank aren't getting anything out of this other than the satisfaction of knowing that we are supporting this great idea that Steve Sansweet and a few other of the top collectors in the world of Star Wars memorabilia had for the Saga Museum, a public facility showcasing the collections of not only Rancho Obi-Wan, but 3 of the galaxy's biggest Star Wars memorabilia collections, along with rotating exhibits. Like there might be an RFR exhibit there. I mean, we're known for being part of Star Wars museum exhibits. Just look at the Redwood Coast Museum of Film. Rebel Force Radio is on display there. So, I mean,
yeah, we're on foam core, man. We've made it.
We'll be a rotating exhibit, the 2 of us. They'll sit us on like some sort of Lazy Susan type turntable and just spin us around all day until we hurl. That's a rotating exhibit for you. But I think they mean exhibits coming and going and things like that. But we're thinking about a permanent facility where the public can pay admission for access to experience Star Wars on a scale unlike anything ever before. So this is the true future for Rancho Obi-Wan, the Guinness Book of World Records' largest Star Wars collection. It's on Steve's personal property right now, and it's been an amazing experience to have it as this not-for-profit, educational, and inspirational venue for Star Wars fans to go to. But it's, that can't go on forever. And as much as we like it to, feasibly it's not possible. So the magic will go on forever. eventually in its own facility. And we want to make it a reality. We want you guys to help us make it a reality. So join us at Rancho Obi-Wan. This is last chance for tickets. Only 5 of them are available. And you want to get your ticket now if you were thinking of going. 5
tickets.
5 tickets for Rancho Obi-Wan. Okay.
All right, the last thing before we get into listener mail, I just got to say, finally, I owe a big thank you to Jimmy Mack because he and I both have been trying like heck to get a hold of this Target exclusive retro collection 6-pack of figures for Star Wars A New Hope. Everything, you got a reprint. That's what they call it when they reprint a figure. A reprint of Walrus Man. And but that's the only one that has existed prior to this. This is really, I think, Hasbro finally getting it right with the retro collection. Fill in the gaps and give us the figures that could have been, might have been, should have been. So we've got Han Solo in his Stormtrooper outfit. We got Yavin Luke with the medal. We've got a Rebel Fleet Trooper, a Sand Trooper. Why did they not make the Sand Trooper? It's so easy. Why did they do it? And Dr. Evazan, and I did unbox them, and they are really great. They are really great. So we got our Rebel Fleet Trooper here. We've got, love this Doctor. This Dr. Evazan for me is really the figure of the set because it was just crazy that they didn't make him. And he's so toyetic when you think about it. And the scene is so iconic. And they gave us Walrus Man.
Right.
By the way, when this set you get it, it's Walrus Man, by the way. It's no Ponda Baba. They're going old school with this.
Yeah.
And
Walrus Man.
Yeah. And then here's the Luke. Now, I got to say, some of the faces look a little Lego-y to me. And so I'm not quite sold that this is what Kenner would have done back in the day. But it's close enough. I do think this, the Han and the Stormtrooper is real good. The helmet fits great. You're not going to scuff the paint off the face. And when he's got the helmet on, yeah. Total Stormtrooper. Wouldn't even know.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty cool. So do you, are you going to populate your actual vintage action figures with these new things?
I do. I do.
They live together harmoniously.
Yeah, every once in a while, you know what? Some fists get thrown. You're not real. But for the most part, they get along really, really well. I like to think that my toys have adventures like in Toy Story. When I'm not looking, as soon as I leave the room, But they do. They work harmoniously together. Here's a side-by-side of so here's vintage Walrus Man right here. That's and then here is the repro/reprint Walrus Man. They're pretty darn close. Softer features. The details are just a hair softer. You can really tell, but it's better than not having it all. And you don't want to leave everything up to the bespoke, custom creators that are out there. They do great work. In fact, I think some of the custom Rebel Fleet Troopers are a little bit better than the one that Hasbro did. But I'm glad that Hasbro's in this game. I really am. And I love it. So finally, I was really sweating this one because, damn, this thing kept going out of stock constantly.
Yeah.
And it was just a game of open the app, the Target app every morning, see if it. And I know some people out there are like, I've had this forever. Yeah, it depends on where you live. Some people were flush with them. The distribution was terrible on this.
Well, the problem was they had a huge amount of pre-orders, and then they canceled all the pre-orders once the shipment came in. Once it was in stock, they canceled all the pre-orders because they obviously received far less than they had anticipated. And the supply was not meeting the demand, and the supply was not meeting the pre-orders. So that's a real stupid, you-know-what mess up by somebody at Target or Hasbro. It just indicates to me a real solid lack of communication between these two corporations, and there's no surprise there. Some corporate exec idiot who probably makes 7-figure salary screwed up something, and us collectors all had to pay for it. But it seems like everyone is eventually going to be able to get their hands on this thing. I accidentally ordered 2. I don't know how it happened. I couldn't cancel the order in time because they said it had already been processed or whatever. So I had 2 shipments show up at my house today.
Yeah.
And one of them will be going back to my local Target store. So keep your eyes
think how
open.
happy you're going to make somebody when that thing just randomly shows up on the shelf.
Yeah. So I'm happy about that. So
thanks for the tip.
Maybe I should slip a little like RFR thing into it or something. So if somebody gets it, then they should reach out to us and let us know that they found it.
Yeah, it's like the Willy Wonka ticket. You just slide that.
Do that. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's going to be something as cool as that. It might just be a simple Babu Freaks, temporary tattoo or whatever this thing is. But I think I'm going to try doing that. I think I'm going to try sliding something into the packaging just to see what happens.
Love it.
That's kind of fun.
All right. Well, let's check in with RFR listeners right now in Listener Mail.
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message?
Message, Arthur, the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Jimmy. This is Andy from Milwaukee, longtime listener and, of course, avid Star Wars fan. So, just wanted to fill you in on some good news for me. My wife and I have been married for 11 years, and to the day, she has never shown any interest in any Star Wars, anything. I've just been her goofy, nerdy husband, and that's been that of it. Andor has really changed that. Because the show is so grounded, it's believable characters in perilous but believable situations. There's no space wizards, there's no laser swords, nobody's floating anything around the room, nobody's shooting lightning out of their fingers. So with a much more grounded approach, I was able to convince her to give it a shot. We watched both seasons of Andor together, and then I took her and convinced her to watch Rogue One with me. I did not tell her that Andor dies at the end of Rogue One, so that was a tragic thing that I got to witness. It was a great time. And then surprisingly, at the end of Rogue One, I was able to switch it over to episode 4 to continue the story. And she said, not tonight, but we'll watch it tomorrow. So we watched episode 4 last night, and it might not be a big deal to some people, but to enjoy the things that I love with my wife, it's been a massive breakthrough, and I just wanted to share that good news with you both. Shut, and we'll see you in the next.
Well, that's very nice. Andy, I can relate to your wife. I tell you what, when I'm watching Star Wars and the space wizards show up and the laser swords and people floating things around the room or lightning through their fingers, it drives me crazy. Could we get that out of Star Wars, please? It just takes me out of it.
She prefers a more grounded approach, is what I think he was.
Oh, I see. Grounded that it no longer looks like Star Wars. But I like that he's using this, though. Andy's doing it right. This is the gateway drug. He gets her hooked, and
could be.
I think it's a great way because look at what Andor does. If you take it from Andor season 1 through Rogue One and get into Ep 4, you it doesn't start out with any force powers, force abilities, hokey religions. Doesn't start out with any of that. You get a little bit of it with the force healer, and you're like, what? What's that? And then by the time you get into Rogue One and you meet Chirrut, and it slowly builds, and then you see the larger view, the big galaxy and the big game, and how it's being played on this spiritual plane in addition to the military aspect of it, and the spying and all that. So I think it's a great way to gradually build someone's tolerance for the more fantastical elements of Star Wars.
Could be. It raises up that interesting conversation about, and you said the term yourself, the gateway into Star Wars. And a lot of times we think of that purely in terms of youth, because that's usually when people get into Star Wars, but we don't think about established married couples who've been living together, with one being a fan of Star Wars and one not. And looking at a show like Andor and how it can bring those couples together so they're both saying it loud and saying it proud. Props for getting her through Andor and then immediately introducing the idea of watching Rogue One right afterwards.
That was real
You pushed it a little bit with the New Hope, friend. You pushed it a little bit because what did she say? She said, "Not tonight, honey. I have a headache." Okay, I get it.
Oh, the old
Can
Star
I open a
Wars
bottle?
headache routine.
Maybe if I open a bottle of champagne, you'll be in the mood. I told you I had a headache. Oh. Okay, got it. I guess I'll just go watch A New Hope by myself. Okay.
I'll watch it on my phone in the bathroom.
With the door locked and the water running. Okay, enough. We're giving away way too much. But it is interesting that experience was like seamless for her as a new fan going from Andor into Rogue One. And a lot of us fans were talking about doing that after we completed Andor. Some of us were really looking forward to it. And I really enjoyed the experience of watching Rogue One after Andor. I felt like it gave me a fresh perspective on that film. It made certain sequences a little more poignant and added maybe deeper meaning to other sequences. And of course, Cassian appears so much larger in the same role he's always had in Rogue One, but you don't think of Rogue One as much as the Jyn Erso story. It becomes very much a tale where Cassian can stake equal claim to it as far as the focus of it all. So that's a lot of fun to watch. Tony Gilroy actually watched Rogue One after Andor had completed its run and after the final episodes had actually aired. Tony was reluctant about going back to watch Rogue One because, if it didn't add up, maybe he would have been bummed out about it, or maybe it's because Rogue One isn't 100% a Tony Gilroy story. He was brought in to sort of to fix it. He was the fixer for that movie, and he punched it up. But he was reluctant about it, but finally did it. And so he talked to the Ringer podcast about that earlier this month, and here's what he had to say.
I finally watched Rogue a week ago with my wife. I finally put it on to see what would happen because I was nervous about it. I was really pleased when I saw it. I was nervous to see it, but everyone kept telling me it was working and enhanced and everything. When I watched it, I was really pleased at how proper we were with the information. The information works perfectly. And I'm really pleased with how it tracks for Cassian and for, all the way through. Tonally, musically, visually, in certain ways, there's things that I see that you may not see. And there's also just a huge amount of construction that I can't escape seeing. So that question gives me a headache. I don't know what I would do. I'm pretty well pleased. The fact that Rogue works and works as well as it does right now is satisfaction enough for me.
That's great. And as Matt pointed out in his call, Cassian's death can be kind of a shocking end for someone who is new to the whole story. So,
right.
It's it is, I struggle with it because to me, some of it feels foreshadowed, but I think it's only foreshadowed because I know how it ends. For someone new, like Matt's wife, or maybe even Tony Gilroy's wife. All these husbands and their wives watching Andor and Rogue One is pretty fantastic from Matt to Tony Gilroy. There's something in the water. I'm glad that Tony feels what I felt, and Jim, I think what you felt when you watched Rogue One after Andor season 2, that it does connect pretty damn good.
It sure does. It sure does. And I hear what Tony's saying. Tonally, there are some things that are a little bit different. So it's not as seamless as maybe you'd like it to be. Definitely the music is more traditional, like in the vein of John Williams.
Yeah.
Where the Andor soundtracks definitely are not. I will say this about the Andor soundtracks, especially season 2. I believe the composer is Nicholas Britell. And I have been listening to the season 2 soundtracks. There are several of them. They released separate soundtracks for each arc. So there's 4 of them out there for season 2. And I've been listening to that as I read Star Wars comics. And it works really well. It's very effective. And I am finding much more diversity and variety in the compositions themselves. It didn't pop out at me so much when I was watching the show. It felt way more atmospheric. It didn't feel as orchestral as... I mean, the proof is in the pudding. When you listen to those soundtracks, you realize that there's a lot going on in them. And there is stuff like the traditional John Williams type symphony orchestra Star Wars sound. But there's also all sort of different vibes going on. Brandon Roberts, that's his name. Brandon Roberts. I think Nicholas Britell was season 1, and Brandon Roberts is the composer for season 2. And he does pick up on certain themes and motifs that were introduced in season 1 by Nicholas Britell. But he, I think, creates a vastly more, like I said, diverse soundtrack. I'm hearing much more variety in the individual compositions. And so it's worth a listen. Hey, it's streaming. You can get them on your streaming services. Most people subscribe to some kind of streaming service. So just check out Andor Season 2. There's 4 volumes of music for you to listen to. And it's pretty kick-ass, I got to say. So I just want to say thanks to all the RFR listeners who kept encouraging me to actually sit down and open up my ears and give it a chance. And I'm glad I did.
Awesome.
You're thinking small, you're thinking like a thief.
I'm thinking like a soldier.
Think like a leader.
Rebel Force Radio.
All right, before we wrap up listener feedback, we've got an email here. This was sent from Joe Lugerhawk Randazzo. That's a mouthful. From Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So he says, hey, Jason, hey, Jimmy, I just got back from London, where my wife and I saw Euan McGregor in his current West End play, My Master Builder. Euan was brilliant, as always, but the play was a bit of a turkey. So much so that people were actually laughing during what were supposed to be dramatic moments, which obviously didn't sit well with you. That's the worst if you've ever sat through that. That is death. He got a standing ovation anyway, and as soon as it was over, we rushed around to the stage door so that my wife could get him to sign her playbill. They charge for them now. £5 bloody pounds. Yeah, they charge for him over in the UK. They don't charge for him in the US. We've tried. Okay, you can't do it. It's against the union rules, but those union rules are not the same over in the UK. So you still get free playbills in the US. There was a sign that said the cast will only sign items. Jim, this probably sounds familiar to you.
It does.
The cast will only sign items from My Master Builder. And I was a little relieved that I had decided not to bring the toilet seat that I had intended for Euan to sign in honor of his worst toilet in Scotland scene from Train Spotting. Although I suspect the sign was meant more for Star Wars items. I'm guessing. Even if it didn't have that sign, you lug in a toilet seat to the theater and to the stage door. That is a commitment, man.
Well, he said he was going to, but he didn't.
He didn't.
He was relieved that he chose
wisely.
Not to bring. But he was considering it. He's probably right about there.
He could have sat on it, right? You could have just sat on it. You could have laid it on your seat, sat on it. But he continues, he says, it didn't matter. I had something better in mind. I was going to get an honest to goodness, bona fide, hello there, from Obi-Wan himself directly to me in person and recorded on my phone to cherish forever. We didn't have to wait long, and as you can see in the video, he went up to everybody and graciously said some kind words and signed their playbills and moved on down the line. He got to my wife. They exchanged pleasantries. Honestly, I wasn't really paying attention to her at that point because I was getting so psyched to make my big ask. So he's done with my wife, steps in front of me, and we've got the video. As soon as I find it here. The video.
On Lugerhawk. I'm pulling
video.
for you, Lugerhawk. I hope it worked.
Here we go.
I hope it worked.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Cheers. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank
Brilliant.
you so much. Brilliant.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for coming along. Hold on. Good. Thank you. There you are. Cheers.
Can I get one hello there, please?
Oh, there's so much buildup. I thought we were going to get a...
Nothing.
Oh, you know what? I don't think...
Rewind it again.
All right, let's rewind.
Listen, rewind it again. Now, I think Lugerhawk is looking for, like, Ewan to look right into the camera and go,
yeah,
hello there.
Right.
But if you notice, Lugerhawk thought he was snubbed by Ewan, but watch Ewan's lips. I think he does say hello there, but he doesn't deliver it at all. He just goes like, hello there, and just keeps.
Yeah, I heard the hello
look
there.
At Lugerhawk. But Ewan's not performing, okay?
No.
He's in the alleyway behind the theater. He's done for the night. And look at the way his bodyguard is staring down Lugerhawk right now. Like
look at that.
I know this guy's trouble. Yeah. He goes, I know this guy's trouble. I'm going to keep my eye on Lugerhawk here because he's going to do something wacky. And why is he standing here without anything to sign? Ewan is just working his way down the line. He gets to Lugerhawk and he's like, wait, there's nothing here for me to apply my signature to. And so Lugerhawk makes the request. Hello there, Ewan, please. And Ewan's like, all right, listen, I'm out here signing. I'm done performing for the night. My bodyguard wants to slice you in your abdomen right now. I just want to sign autographs and go home. To my lovely wife, Harrison Dula. But no, Lugerhawk has to make this absurd request. But Ewan, I think, graciously delivered on the request. But he just didn't deliver in like a dramatic fashion that I think Lugerhawk was looking for. So play it again, though, and watch his lips. You'll see he does say hello there.
He does.
Ewan, can I get one hello there, please?
He says, hello there, how are you? That's what he says. He says, hello there, how are you? Well, here's my take on it. I don't think Ewan was even thinking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think he was just trying to get through the line. Someone says, hey, can I get a hello there? He wasn't, he didn't say, hey, can I get a hello there? Hello there, Ewan. Hello there, Obi-Wan.
Oh, yes.
He might have been able to, can I get hello there?
Right. Maybe he didn't quite make the connection. This is Euan McGregor on the West End. This is him on the West End. He's not at Star Wars Celebration. His brain is not locked in on that.
Totally different mindset.
The guy doesn't walk around. He doesn't walk around all day, 24/7, thinking to himself, I am Obi-Wan Kenobi. He becomes Euan McGregor, an individual, a human being. Much like the Lugerhawk himself is an individual, human being.
He's Euan McGregor thespian. That's what he is right here.
The bodyguard isn't even really even looking. He's looking at what Ewan is signing to make sure nobody's slipping in like a Star Wars trading card or something.
You're right. You're right. Look at him. Okay.
You're like, what? Oh, what's this? Oh, yeah.
That looks all right.
This guy's probably like 6'3". He probably has 2 knives in one boot. And a missile launcher in his backpack. You don't want to mess with a guy like this.
After the 3 paragraphs of buildup, I thought for sure that we were going to get a bona fide Euan McGregor. Because you're right, when he's at Celebration, he doesn't stop with the hello there's. Every time the guy walks on stage, the guy's like, hello there. New guests come out, sit on the couch, he looks at him, hello there. It's like, all right, okay.
Well, maybe he just gets hello there'd out.
Could be.
And when he's, hanging out in London, it's just, he can't, just a simple hello there is the best he can do. So I think, Luger Hawk sent me this email with the subject line, snubbed by McGregor.
Oh.
And I'm like, all right, well, but yeah, I don't want to, reveal the whole bit about it. I wanted to see for myself.
Oh, I was on the edge of my seat.
I don't believe Luger Hawk was 100% snubbed because I do sense there was a hello there coming from Euan McGregor. So Luger Hawk, high fives, really. You got what you want. Well, you didn't get what you wanted. You really didn't, because you thought he was going to look right into your cell phone camera and give you a big he was like wind up, like Louis Tion from the 1975 Boston Red Sox. He's going to give you, hello there, Luger Hawk. Hello there. Hello, Luger Hawk and Lady Luger Hawk. Hello there. And then he'd actually start performing Lionel Richie's Hello. I've got a private performance here for Luger Hawk. Hello, is it me you're looking for? Hello there. Okay, that's not going to happen. Luger Hawk, just be happy with what you got. I'm proud of you for asking,
Yeah.
He's standing there, the West End, the alleyway, the stage door. It's like they saw the Pennsylvania all over you, pal. Everyone knew that you were a fish out of water there in the West End. They knew you weren't a regular. And
hey,
so
look,
Luger Hawk.
I'll bet this guy's going to ask him for a hello there.
Hello there. Yeah,
he was a mark.
Yeah. The bodyguard had it figured out the second Euan walked outside. But didn't you wait outside, like somewhere Broadway in New York?
I did.
Ian McDiarmid?
I did.
Stalked him.
I did stalk him. And here's the thing. I didn't even see the show. Like, I committed the ultimate sin. I didn't even see the show. He was in a show called The Healer, and I just went to the stage door when I knew they'd be getting out, and there he was. This little like fishing cap he was wearing. And funny story, though, is that is what many, many years ago, when I sent my email to theforce.net saying that I wanted to throw my hat in the ring to be a host of a new podcast, that photo was attached to that email. I needed something to distinguish myself because I knew they were getting bombarded with emails, and they were. And that was something that I knew they would remember. Not everybody's going to throw a picture of themselves with Euan McGregor, especially then. We're talking, what year was that? That was, my God, that was like 2000, late 2005. Early 2006. So actually it was spring of 2006. But I didn't try to sneak anything in. I didn't have any playbills because I didn't see the damn show. I just wanted my photo with him. And I do remember one thing, because I had a couple of friends that were trying to take the picture with us, and he just goes, which one are we looking at? Which camera you wanted to know? I'm like, that one. So...
But you didn't like pull out like a videotape machine like back then. It was probably those handheld camcorder
sits on
things.
my shoulder.
You didn't pull that out and point it at him and say, "Can you say do it? Do it. Can you do that? Do it. That's the equivalent of asking Euan McGregor. It's the equivalent of asking Euan McGregor outside of a London theater to say hello there,
It
and
really
you got
is.
it. You got it, Luger Hawk. You got it. So
I know.
congratulations to Luger Hawk, Mrs. Luger Hawk, and the entire Luger Hawk family. Euan McGregor's attorneys will be reaching out to you shortly.
I love it.
After they reach out to us.
I will get that. I will get that photo of me and Euan McDiarmid in the full show video for you Patreons. I'll drop it in. I was furiously looking for it, but I'll throw it in there. All right, what do we got coming up next? What's on the rundown? Patreon. It's time to talk a little bit about Patreon and all the great, exciting things you can find there. And Jim, I know that there was a big announcement that you made this morning to all of the Patreon members, as we've had to make a little slight change in the structure.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're going to be eliminating the $1 RFR Insider tier, single tier for the Insider tier. But quite honestly, about 2 years ago, Patreon started getting on me, telling me that I should eliminate that tier. It makes no economic sense for us to continue with that tier. So I'm sorry, but it's going to go away. The good news is RFR Insider Plus is waiting for you, and it's only $1 more. And you got to keep getting all of the episodes of RFR Q&A, including access to the Q&A archives. But on top of that, you also get ad-free shows, early bird releases. So that's just with the $2 per month RFR Insider tier. So we recommend all of our insiders, all of our RFR insiders over on Patreon to make the leap forward to the RFR Insider Plus tier. Now, this little event is not going to affect any of the other tiers or any of the other supporters, only those in the RFR Insider tier. You'll still gain access to the site itself, but you won't get the podcast anymore with RFR Insiders. So I just want to make that point clear. The RFR Insider tier going away at the end of June, beginning of July. So may the force be with you, RFR Insider. It was great.
Can we make it look like a Force ghost on the webpage there? Put a little blue glowy around it.
It would just put like X eyes on us in the graphic there. But I've always enjoyed saying only $1 and you're listening. That's pretty much why I kept the Insider tier around for 2 years longer than I should have. So
just for the
because
slogan?
I enjoyed saying it. Just for a slogan. Just for a slogan. Patreon's like, dude, we've asked you. You got to do something now. And I'm like, fine. They want me to listen to common sense. I hate when people do that.
When have you ever done that? That's never stopped you before.
Never stopped me before. That's why Joe Dallas was a visitor this weekend. And then he ran me ragged. And you could hear all about our adventures on the new RFR Q&A number 249, Star Wars Chicago and Qbert. And we tell you all about Joe Dallas's trip, not only to Chicago, but his trip to the Far East and Tokyo for his adventures at Star Wars Celebration Japan. And then we also talk about Joe and his... You can see the look on my face. I am not happy with my scores. And Joe is grinning.
Joe looks real happy.
Oh, and this is actually when he was on his almost record-setting run. You know, he glanced at the camera for half a second just to bask in my misery. I think in the next picture, he's laughing his butt off.
There we go.
Now he's starting. Now here comes the big crack up. Like, Jimmy Mac's such a loser at Qbert. He thinks he's so good. And then back to the game for Joe. But you can see his score right there, 1,539,585 points.
Wow.
So he was just short of the record there at the Galloping Ghost.
Now, wait a minute here. I see a Mac, and then over here I see a JMC. You're not. So you're Mac, right?
Well,
you're not JMC.
Okay. Typically I do JMC, but I did Mac a couple times just to give it try it out. The reason I don't do Mac at the Galloping Ghost is because the owner's name is Doc Mac. And he is a very well-known personality within the competitive arcade community, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone knows Doc Mac, and he's something of a superhero character himself. And so I don't like to step on his toes by putting Mac on his machine. So I typically do the JMC. But as you can see, the Joes are very dominant in the top 4. I'd even come close. I'm really disappointed with myself. I should have posted at least a 500,000 point game, but that would be 1 million short of Joe. I mean, he was really a man possessed. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, it was very impressive gaming. Plus, there's a photo gallery accompanying the posts so you can follow along with the photos while you listen to the podcast. And Eric from Phoenix just got back from Steve Sansweet's 80th birthday at Rancho Obi-Wan. So he is the feature focus of RFR Q&A number 250, The Road to Rancho Obi-Wan, with Eric from Phoenix. And what was great about hearing about his trip to California to go to Rancho Obi-Wan for the Rancho Obi-Wan Summer Social Fundraiser, fun, F-U-N, Razor. You know, it's kind of a preview of what's going to be going on for RFR at Row in September. So we're following a very similar template to what went on at Steve's birthday party, except there's going to be a kick-ass podcast going on live there, too. There you see Eric from Phoenix was standing outside Skywalker Ranch. He went over there and took the picture right in front of the gates. Of course, when a Jimmy Mack and a Jason Swank go to Skywalker Ranch, not only do the gates get open, but the dogs get unleashed.
The alarms go off.
Yeah.
Lights. Yeah. Helicopters.
You hear George Lucas, chomper, sick balls. So we hear all about Eric from Phoenix trip out there. There you saw Tanya, RFR VIP Tanya, and Turtle Wars there. So, several RFR VIPs attended the Rancho Obi-Wan Summer Social Fundraiser, but they also plan on returning in September for Rebel Force Radio at Rancho Obi-Wan. So we look forward to seeing everyone there, and we look forward to seeing all of you listeners joining the best community for Star Wars fans anywhere on the internet. That's patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio.
Jim, all I know is that you told me last week that this week we were going to talk about something on the program that was a connection between the legendary John Lennon and Star Wars. So I'm all ears. What do we got? What's the connection?
Yeah. Well, I can't take credit for initiating this. You know, I guess we shouldn't call this RFR Sound Lab. This is a Rebel Force Radio investigative report, essentially. So we were triggered to this idea by Michael McInerney, my son, Michael Mack, who is a huge Beatles fan. And he was, you know what? I shouldn't tell this story. We got Michael here. Let's just let him explain to you what he discovered and how he discovered it.
I was on a huge John Lennon kick, and I listened to Double Fantasy from 1980, his last studio album, for the first time in a long time. And I was listening to it, Yoko tracks and all, and I came across... on the track Beautiful Boys, the Yoko track, there is a sample of a blaster heard throughout the song. You can hear it the most towards the end of the song in the last 20 seconds or so. And I was just sitting there for a second, and I'm like, that can't be from Star Wars, right? And I listened to it again, and it had to be. Where else would it come from? It's insane. No one is talking about this. No one seems to have noticed this. So I think it's safe to say we are breaking not only Star Wars pop culture ground, but Beatles trivia ground as well. Now back to RFR, already in progress.
All right.
Thank you, Michael.
He's got a great voice for this medium. I got to tell you, I was really impressed. So you can actually hear this in the track, is what he's saying?
Yes, John Lennon's final album, Double Fantasy, John Lennon and Yoko Ono, was released in 1980, December 1980. And just within days after its release, John Lennon was sadly murdered due to obliging a fan with an autograph request right outside of the Dakota in New York City, which was the building which he lived in. And it was the most tragic tale in rock history, if you ask me, because it's so senseless and avoidable and sad, just pathetic. And John was a man of the people, you know. He was the working class hero. And I'm sure if you pointed a camera at him and asked him to say, hello there, he would do it. Because he was the great John Lennon. Yeah, he was a man of the people. And ego and fame and stuff like that. I mean, he was a rock star, sure, and probably very susceptible to all the vices and pitfalls of being a rock star. But I think at the end of the day, John really considered himself to be a regular guy. And he wrote songs about it. So, long story short, he released this album December 1980. Of course, Empire Strikes Back came out in May 1980. And yeah, okay, so the timing is accurate, and could, you know, we're not hearing something that predated Empire Strikes Back. Laser sounds are something that's very commonplace in the sound effects community. You know, you give me one laser blast, I'll give you 20,000 more. And that's just from my own stash. But legitimate Star Wars blaster sound, created by Ben Burt, appearing in a song on John Lennon's Double Fantasy album, his final album. Could it be possible? Did this actually happen? So I'm going to play for you now the very final seconds of the Yoko Ono song from that album called Beautiful Boys. Not to be confused with the John Lennon song, Beautiful Boy, from the same album. You know, that Ono-Lennon trickery once again becomes evident. But the song is Beautiful Boys by Yoko Ono. And this is, Michael suggested we listen to the very end of the song. So this is legitimately like the last chord played. And listen, you don't even have to listen that hard. You're going to hear sound effects that sound very Star Wars-y.
Yeah, no question about it. Those are blasters. No question.
Those are blasters.
It is very, very plain. Yeah.
Now, we think they're from Empire Strikes Back because we launched an RFR investigative report in this whole situation.
I mean, if we're going to keep calling it this, my goodness. It's a little late, but I mean, we got to play it.
It is what it is. I know. Typically, the Sound Lab experiences are triggered by investigative reports. It's part of the whole CSI RFR vibe we have going on here. You know, we're looking, the forensic research that we do. The forensic science of what we do here on this podcast is undeniable, really. So I launched into some investigating about John Lennon and Star Wars. Just doing simple Google searches like Lennon, Star Wars, John Lennon, Empire Strikes Back, etc. And a lot of the things that would pop up were things about him being a fan. And then I found something like George Harrison was a bigger fan of Star Wars than John Lennon. These are debates for the ages, and I'll leave that to the rock and roll historians. What I'm concerned about is the track Beautiful Boys from 1980's Double Fantasy. How did the Star Wars effects get in there? How did this happen? Well, we have one little piece of evidence that I discovered just by crawling through the internet. And nobody has yet made the connection between this evidence I'm going to present to you and the Beautiful Boy song. But I think it's pretty obvious when you hear this piece of tape I'm going to play for you. This is John Lennon, October 10th, 1980, being interviewed a mere 2 months before his unfortunate death and a day after he had just turned 40 years old. This interview takes place at the Hit Factory Studios, where John was mixing Double Fantasy. This is a couple of months before Double Fantasy was released, and so he was putting the final touches on the whole thing. LA Times music critic Robert Hilburn sat in the studio with John at the Hit Factory while work was being done on Double Fantasy for an interview. Some people say this is the only video interview of John in 1980. But it's hard to hear things because the engineers are hard at work on the Double Fantasy album in the same room, and all these sounds are coming through these loud speakers in there while this interview is being conducted. So I assume maybe John was wearing like a lavalier mic, and the video that was pointed at him, because it's very crude video footage, almost as if to document what was happening as opposed to actually capture the interview itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the sound quality isn't good, but you definitely will hear John Lennon in the background. And the way that this review that I found of this interview puts it, it says, it's the only video interview of John in 1980. Although the quality isn't very good and someone seems to be watching Star Wars in the background, it's a racket.
What?
It's still a poignant watch and John Lennon at his likable best. So I pulled 51 seconds of this so-called interview.
Okay.
And I am quite certain that the mix downs for Beautiful Boys was happening simultaneously in the same room. And I think it'll be very obvious to you once you start hearing this recording.
Oh, my dear one. It was originally Paul. There's another one where he called me up and say, we're going to be in this movie. He said he's still making a movie. And so we just, you want to make a movie, let's make a movie. You know? And he says, write a bit. So I just wrote dreams that I had down. I'm trying to recreate that. But the one bit, the only bit I like that I contributed is a dream sequence where they're eating, and there's a very fat lady in this English or Scottish really not like that guy, and he's saying something or other to her, and it was a real dream of mine.
Is that Ben Burt in there? Okay, so let me get this straight. For decades now, the lore has been that in the studio, someone, while this interview was going on, this film was being made, that during this time, someone was watching Star Wars in the studio. They were watching it in the background. Someone just happened to have, I don't know, in 1980, I guess a Betamax or a laser disc of Star Wars. And they're just skipping around, playing the laser blasts. When the reality is that those sounds were actually being used in the mix of the track. And for decades, it's been reported differently. It's amazing.
This may have even been like one of the final touches they put on the original mix for Double Fantasy. This could have been the final mix session because it's very late in the game. This is less than 2 months before the album actually is in stores. And I remember when that album came out, and it was a really big deal. I never knew up until Michael telling me. Because you know why? I, like most people with musical taste, skip past the Yoko Ono songs on Double Fantasy. So I don't think I've ever actually listened to a complete Yoko Ono song in my life. I think she's the worst. But John was very fond of her and gave her his platform, and Double Fantasy was that platform in 1980.
So you're saying that at some point they're near the end of this and he's listening back to it and he's like, you know what this needs?
Yeah,
You know what would make this perfect? Star Wars blaster sounds.
I just saw Empire. Let's do a little bit of that with this. What do you say?
By the way, there was no cease and desist probably sent to John Lennon and Yoko Ono from George Lucas.
Of course not, because George also has musical taste and skips past the Yoko songs on Double Fantasy.
He didn't even know. He didn't
know. Nobody, Swank, nobody knows, because everyone skips past the Yoko songs.
Well, Yoko, she wrote this song. I thought the song kind of was weak with just Yoko, so I needed to put some Star Wars stuff in it,
I thought at first it was from Empire Strikes Back, but the more I hear it, it sounds like it's from. I'm thinking two places. I'm thinking it could have been from the opening blaster duel sequence.
Sounded like Tantive 4, yeah.
At the very beginning of A New Hope, or it could have been when the rebels rescue Leia from the prison cell on the Death Star. Yeah. Those are two tour de forces for Ben Burt when it comes to blaster sounds. No question about it.
Yeah. That's amazing. I would love to get a comment from Ben Burt about something like this. This is crazy.
Yeah,
I think they've got to know this.
Was he ever aware? If you ask him, he'd probably be like, of course I was never aware. I skipped past the Yoko song. Because I have a sense of musical taste.
Maybe those blasters were trying to take out Yoko at the end of that song.
They were Beatle fans storming the studios, dressed as stormtroopers. Yeah, even a galaxy far, far away, they don't prefer Yoko Ono.
Dang.
If you prefer her, that's good. Good for you. I never understood the Yoko apologists, but there are plenty of them out there. Well, John loved her, so I should too. Fail. But I mean, that's an interesting connection there. We've done Beatles, Star Wars connections in the past here on RFR. I know I've certainly devoted a few episodes of RFR Q&A on Patreon to it with our VIPs who are Beatles fans as well. I'm a huge Beatles fan myself, like I would say much more than just a casual fan of theirs. I was deeply affected by John Lennon's murder in 1980. That was actually my introduction to the Beatles, believe it or not. I didn't really know who John Lennon was. I was 11 years old. But when he got shot, all of a sudden, the Beatles were everywhere. They weren't around. Like in the 70s, the Beatles were kind of, they were yesterday's news. All of the musicians in the band had gone off to have like rather successful solo careers. And so I think that the listening public just all kind of moved forward and the Beatles were a thing of the past. Disco had come on the scene. The Bee Gees were really hot. And it wasn't like the Beatles were as omnipresent as they are now. There was there were a few movies that came out over the years. I remember one like in the late 70s called I Want to Hold Your Hand. And it was about a bunch of fanatic teenage girls who were trying to meet the Beatles the night of the famous Ed Sullivan broadcast in 1964. But other than that, like they didn't have that stranglehold on pop culture that they had in the 60s and quite honestly that they have now.
Oh, yeah.
In the decade immediately following their existence. I have to tell you that. It was like a lot of people had moved on from the Beatles. And then when John Lennon died, all of a sudden the Beatles were back and they were everywhere and there were magazines on the newsstands. And so I had like this crash education on them and really got kind of caught up in the whole burgeoning Beatles renaissance following the murder of John Lennon. And of course, at that time, being the biggest Star Wars fan in my school, I also became the only Beatles fan in my school too, because like kids were bringing Supertramp records and like Sean Cassidy garbage, and, you know, and I'm coming to school.
Teen Idols.
Yeah. And I'm coming to school with Meet the Beatles, you know, spin this vinyl. I love the laptops now.
If only 11-year-old Jimmy Mack would have known that there was a Star Wars connection, you might not have skipped those Yoko tracks.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
You might have been a big Yoko fan. What if you would have been a big fan of the Yoko?
You're right. Yeah,
she liked Star Wars.
If
a young, impressionable Jimmy Mack.
I could have become the biggest Yoko Ono fan of all time. Just based on the Star Wars connection in her song Beautiful Boys. beep, 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 beep. You ever hear her sing when she starts doing that? It's like,
no, but I've
holy
seen
crap.
I've seen this incredible clip of I don't know if it's like the Midnight Special or whoever, but Lennon was playing with Chuck Berry.
Yep.
And you can tell that Lennon's just in awe of Chuck Berry, one of his idols. And then all of a sudden Yoko starts with the screeching and the howling and all the sounds that she would make, and the look on Chuck Berry's face is like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Stick a sock in that thing.
It literally sounds like this. Long distance information, give me Memphis, Tennessee. And then Chuck makes this look like, oh my God. And the sound guy turns her mic off immediately.
Oh.
And God bless that audio technician who had the foresight, because he knew that Chuck was going to come off the stage and kick his ass if he didn't turn that mic off the second Yoko opened her mouth. Oh my goodness! But then still we have that connection now between Double Fantasy, the track Beautiful Boys, and Star Wars sound effects. And if somebody could get a hold of Ben Burt, please ask him about it. Maybe I'll try to reach out to Ben. I think I have the contacts to reach out to Mr. Burt. I've never attempted to bother him before, but maybe this is worth it. You know?
I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I think so.
So there it is, the connection between John Lennon and Star Wars revealed, courtesy of Michael McInerney. Michael Mac. Michael is not only a huge Beatles fan and a huge John Lennon fan, but he's a musician himself. And if you like just good old-fashioned roots rock and roll, garage rock, check out his album. It's called Sockin' It To Ya. His band is called The Vaughn Building, Vaughan Building. A lot of people forget that second A, you know. And they have nothing to do with Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's a question they get asked a lot of times. But if you have a streaming service like Spotify or even on YouTube, wherever you stream music, you can find his album. So if you're in the mood to hear some good old-fashioned American rock and roll, then check out the Vaughn Building, Sockin' It To Ya. It's Michael's band. He's the lead singer, chief songwriter, and lead guitar player. And I think his music's pretty damn good. I'm not just saying that because he's my son. I really, honestly mean that. I think he's a very talented kid, and he approaches his music with great integrity. So be sure to check them out. That's the Vaughn Building. Find them anywhere you find music, anywhere you stream music, and support young musicians.
Hello, what have we here?
Rebel Force Radio.
I'm Lando Calrissian. Glad to make your acquaintance.
Your source for the Force.
You've come to the right place. I can tell that you've done this before.
Now back to RFR, already in progress.
All right, let's check out news headlines.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
All right. We got some Starfighter news for you. Some new casting. We've got another actor that has been officially, I think it's about it's as official as it gets when you get these big outlets like Hollywood Reporter and stuff talking about it. But Mia Goth, I don't know Mia Goth. She's not an actress that I'm familiar with, but she is apparently joining the cast of Star Wars Starfighter. And some of the outlets, Jim, this is not anything you're going to find on Hollywood Reporter, but in some other circles, they're talking about the fact that she may be a villain in the in the film. And that the role that she has been cast in was turned down by Mikey Madison, another actress. Yes. So,
did you hear why she turned it down? Mikey Madison?
How? Oh,
I'll tell you why. She was offered
money.
She
wasn't
it was
getting
all
Gosling money.
It was all money, in which she was offered the role, and she wanted $6 million to be in the film, and Lucasfilm / Disney told her to take a hike, and they called Mia Goth, who said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it for." I mean, what are they offering her?
I don't know.
Scale. Scale to be in a Star Wars film.
I have heard that Lucasfilm is not generous with the pay. Pretty much no matter who you are.
I've heard that for decades.
Yeah.
So, but she is going to be stepping into this role, and I think there is something about her looks, something about the lack of eyebrows or something. I don't know, but I think you put a bald cap on her, and I predict that's going to happen. Maybe she could be like some resurgence of Asajj Ventress, maybe a live-action Asajj Ventress, if I were to predict who she's playing based on existing characters. I could see her being Asajj Ventress in Starfighter. And we've seen a resurgence of the character Asajj Ventress in season 3 of The Bad Batch, along with the Tales of the Underworld show. It appears that they have plans for Asajj Ventress, and quite possibly we might be seeing seeds getting planted right now to prepare us for her live-action debut in Star Wars Starfighter.
All right, but you're assuming then that Asajj is going to do a heel turn, because right now Asajj is really more on the hero side. I know she's a mercenary, she's independent, but
yeah,
I mean, this is saying that, this is saying villain. So to me,
villain,
yeah.
Asajj has traditionally always been in the villain role. She was an apprentice to Count Dooku. She caused all kind of problems for the Jedi in the Clone Wars. I don't care what kind of softening up of the character they're trying to attempt, but
she's going to go back to her roots, her villainous roots, maybe.
Take her back to, I think Mia Goth would make a great Asajj Ventress. There's just, I see her with the skull cap on.
See, here's the
exclusively what I think. Well, I also get like vibes of Alice Krieg, I think is her name, and she played the Borg Queen in some of the Star Trek films. And I'm getting vibes. I'm getting those vibes off of this actress.
So you don't think they hired her to be this? Well, Mia's a very pretty young woman. You don't think they hired her to be this lovely beauty that underneath is a villain?
No,
okay. So you're thinking she's going to be all she's going to be all dolled up. She's going to have prosthetics, bald caps. She's going to have maybe tattoos. Who knows? That's what you're predicting.
Yeah, I think
they're going to mess her up.
I think she'll have a messed up exotic look. But let's learn a little bit more about Mia Goth, shall we? Courtesy of Wikipedia. Mia Gypsy Mello da Silva Goth, born October 25th, 1993, is an English actress. After modeling is born, why would you say that?
Well, because her name's Mia Gypsy Mello.
Okay, all right. I guess that is a red flag. That's a hippie flag flying right there. That's a freak flag flying right there. All right, starting from the top. Mia Gypsy Mello da Silva Goth, born October 25th, 1993, is an English actress. After modeling as a teenager, Goth made her acting debut in the erotic art film Nymphomaniac 2013. Swank, I
one of my
there's
favorites.
Some homework. There's some homework for the RFR boys to be doing this weekend.
I will sacrifice on behalf of everyone, and I will...
Jason, what are you watching? Oh, nothing, just Nymphomaniac. Yeah. But it's for the show. It's for Mia Goth. All right, she earned recognition.
I'll watch that one in the bathroom, too.
What she graduated from softcore porn, she earned her recognition with the films A Cure for Wellness, 2016, High Life, 2018, Suspiria, 2018, and Emma, 2020. She achieved a career breakthrough by playing Maxine Minx and Pearl in the X-Film series, 2022 to 2024.
What the hell is the X-Film series?
I never heard of them.
Like,
the X-Film series, not to be confused with X-Files, X-Men, or Triple X, the film series. It's the X-Film series is a series of American horror films based on an original story written by Ty West. The series includes the original film X, its prequel Pearl, and its sequel Maxine.
Oh,
Mia Goth.
Well,
but, I mean, really, who cares? I mean, once you get to Nymphomaniac, I mean, that's as far as I'm going to be going in the IMDb until Starfighter.
You know who else was in that movie with her and who she's attached to romantically, right?
No.
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, she's with Shia.
She's with Shia, another Lucasfilm vet.
Jeez,
Didn't
I
really
like her
end that
so
well,
much more than I did just 30 seconds ago. I think for her to be with Shia, that speaks volumes about her character. And I'm not bashing Shia LaBeouf. I think Shia LaBeouf is a solid dude and a great actor. And sure, he's had some tabloid mishaps here and there.
Yeah.
You know, that video of him that was really about pumping yourself up or just do it and all that stuff. I mean, that to me is peak Shia LaBeouf. And I like him for that. I like Shia LaBeouf. I think he's a good actor.
Yeah. But here's the question I got to ask you. They're making so much to do in the hype up to this film about they're breaking from the Skywalker saga. This doesn't have a direct nor an indirect connection to the Skywalkers. There's, of course, rumors about maybe sequel characters showing up. This is set 5 years after the sequels. So what makes you think that an Asajj Ventress is in order? Do you think that they still are going to mine the trove of familiar characters to ground it, even though you got Ryan Gosling, and we'll talk about the speculated plot here in just a moment, but do you think they need to go there to get this thing ensconced in the universe?
But I just think that, like, the connection will be as solid as the connection was between Forrest Whitaker's Saw Gerrera in Rogue One and Andor compared to the Saw Gerrera that gets introduced in the Clone Wars, you know?
Oh.
I think it's sort of that vein. A live action debut for a character who will, sure, have the baggage of the Asajj Ventress backstory, but still, I see a lot of blue sky ahead of that character if you want to take her and place her in this. Now, we are talking, though, a solid, like 40 years?
40
past, 40 years into the future. You know, the last time we see the Asajj Ventress character, it's in that Underworld show. And the Empire is obviously very much in control at that point. It's a story told during the Dark Ages between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. And you have an Asajj Ventress there who still seems pretty youthful, but she'd have to be, if we, in Earth terminology as far as aging goes, she'd have to be about 30 years old. So tack another 40 years onto that. All of a sudden she's 70, and Mia Goth is playing her at 70 years old. But again, we don't know how these aliens age and stuff.
Not only that, but keep in mind, Asajj died. She was brought back to life by the magic of the Night Sisters. So who's going to put an age on that?
But what is exactly? Yes, maybe she's ageless now. But what is the necessity for resurrecting the character in the first place unless you are going to go somewhere with that character? And Bad Batch and Tales of the Underworld didn't really take that character anywhere, but it firmly established her resurrection. So she's back on the playing board, and it has to be for a purpose. There needs to be a reason for her return, because why do it otherwise? They've not done anything effective with the character in the time since they brought her back, other than a cameo in The Bad Batch and that Tales of the Underworld thing, which was rather shallow. And
what about a Darth Talon type? We know that George loved that character, she was also going to be in Underworld, the original Underworld series. So, and here's the thing: I have to think with a show, with a movie and a story called Starfighter, and with Patty Jenkins' film on permanent ice, maybe, her Rogue Squadron film, could they be recycling or upcycling some of those plots, some of those situations from that story? It seems to be pretty, at the time, it seemed like the script was pretty well, far along, or at least the story was far along.
It's very possible. I love what you're saying about Darth Talon. Because I think there is a future for that character in Star Wars storytelling. And George Lucas recognized that. Sure, it's a character that was just created for a Dark Horse comic series that was set in the far future beyond the original trilogy. It was like 100 or 150 years into the future. And it featured the adventures of an offspring of Luke's, a descendant of Luke Skywalker, Cade Skywalker. And Darth Talon was one of the... it was like the Sith Reborn, or I can't remember what they called themselves, but they answered to a character named Darth Krayt. And Darth Talon was his apprentice. And she was this badass hottie of a Twi'lek that was all decked out in Darth Maul tattoos. And she wore basically nothing. And she was a very
perfect for an actress that was in Nymphomaniac. I think this is a dream
from
role.
Nymphomaniac, let's bring the nymphomania into Star Wars with Darth Talon and Mia Goth. Yeah, I know. This is some kind of... I read a review of RFR the other day, which I shouldn't have done. But it was like, I was looking for a Star Wars podcast for my 8-year-old. I was like, oh no. Dear Lord, please don't tell me you turned on RFR for your 8-year-old. Sure enough, she did. And she was really turned off by the what did she say? The wheezing... I just wheezed. I'm giving them what they want.
Wheezing.
It was the wheezing.
We both have a little wheeze going on. We're...
Hey, listen, I have asthma. Don't shame me for that, okay? I thought we've advanced as a society.
Let Jimmy Mack live his truth.
That's just for you, lady. But yeah, I was looking for... Let me just make this point clear. Because my feelings, I have feelings, but my feelings were hurt by this. No, I clearly know that this is not a podcast for 8-year-olds. Move along.
Yeah.
So good. I'm glad I brought that up because I need to get that.
I'm glad you did too. I didn't know about that one.
The wheezing, though, really just hurt my feelings. The wheezing.
We've been called many things, but never wheezers. But I guess
is priceless. But hey,
I was turned off by the wheezing.
But I mean, sure, you can review this show and say it's no good for 8-year-olds, and we will give you 5 stars for that review because it's so true. This is a show for people who grew up with Star Wars and who are now adults, quite honestly. I mean, we don't tailor this conversation for children. There are plenty of other Star Wars podcasts who do that.
Yes, there are.
Not saying names. You know who you are.
Mia Goth, she might be causing some MCU fans a little bit of indigestion here because she was apparently attached to the new Blade movie, the reboot for Marvel.
Yes.
And sounds like, given her casting in this, that might not be a good thing for the future of the Blade film.
No, I think the Blade movie is on the shelf. I think that has been pulled. It had a release date that was pulled. I follow Blade stuff because I'm a Blade fan.
Oh,
however, I am one of the people who, well, I don't like the idea of a non-Wesley Snipes Blade. I'll just say that right now. I thought Snipes was brilliant in the role and truly owned it.
Until he didn't pay his taxes. And then...
Oh, yeah, big deal. Like white-collar crime. Like all of Hollywood doesn't do that.
No, I know. I'm just saying that. No, I'm not. Actually, that makes him even more cool for me that he didn't pay his taxes.
Absolutely.
My point was that did sort of put a damper on his Hollywood career because he did serve time for that.
Dude, they locked him up for that. Wesley freaking Snipes. Because, you know, his biggest crime was having the crappiest accountant in Hollywood. That was his crime. Jeez. He couldn't figure his way out of that one?
Yeah.
My goodness. There are so many loopholes in the IRS system for a guy like Wesley Snipes to exploit. But he happened to have the worst accountant in the world. And he had to serve time.
Him and Willie Nelson. Rough. Oh,
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But what are you going to do? So we have other Starfighter casting news and rumors.
Oh, we do.
And I've been gathering these the last few weeks. The first one I have is the story. The plot will reportedly follow a 15-year-old boy on a mission with his uncle, and the uncle will be Ryan Gosling, and they are being pursued by two villains. So presumably Mia Goth will be one of those villains. The other villain apparently that role was offered to Jesse Plemons from Breaking Bad, who also was in the running for Finn back in the day of The Force Awakens when the casting was going on for that. But Jesse Plemons was reportedly offered the villain role, but he turned it down to be in Hunger Games. I guess they're bringing that one back. So Hunger Games is coming back, and Jesse Plemons said, let's see, Star Wars and Hunger Games. I'm going to go with Hunger Games. Stupid. All right.
Well, maybe it's a better part. I don't know.
Enough out of you. You bring that up on your Hunger Games podcast there, Skippy. Greta Lee, who was in the film Past Lives, turned down a role in Starfighter because she was turned off by it wasn't a meaty enough role. It was essentially a cameo where she would be playing the owner of a cantina. So I guess we'll be seeing a cantina of some sort in Star Wars Starfighter. Okay. A Stranger Things actor or actress who I'm not familiar with, Dockery Montgomery. Do we know who Dockery is? Dockery Montgomery.
Dockery Montgomery. I'm on it.
But there's rumors that Dockery will be also or is in talks for a role in the film. So we got our information on this report from Daniel RPK.
Oh, Dockery. Yeah. He played Billy. He was Billy. He was
the long-haired guy, the long-haired metalhead, the
burnout
kid.
guy. Yeah, the burnout.
Okay.
It was right. It was the pool boy. And all the moms wanted him.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't brought back for this upcoming season that Sean Levy's been working on. This upcoming season of Stranger Things. I guess they're not bringing Billy back for that.
Billy's not coming back for the 5th and final season, eh?
Yeah, that's what I understand, but that could be a bunch of smoke just to throw you off the scent. But so he's rumored to be in talks for a role in Starfighter, according to Best.
So Sean Levy says, I can't get you in Stranger Things season 5, but I tell you what, Doc Ray.
Yeah.
We'll get you in Star Wars. How's that for a consolation prize?
Maybe that is the way that those dominoes fell, and maybe it was just like, well, he would be perfect for the role. Yeah. So expect some Metallica in Star Wars Starfighter, or at least some air guitar. And I say that without having seen any episodes of Stranger Things since season 2. That's when I punched.
I got to tell you, one of the benefits of getting older and sort of just kind of letting pop culture just kind of go on without me in some ways is that I don't know any of these actors. I mean, I know Doc Ray because I know Stranger Things, but I kind of like, and I obviously know Ryan Gosling, but no one else. I've not heard of any of these people. So it's going to be like, wow, these are like, I'm going to totally buy them as these characters because there's no baggage. They're bringing no baggage for Swank. No Swank baggage on these actors.
Well, that's a very refreshing kind of way to approach it there, Jason. You take the pressure off of yourself, you know. I'm not going to be hip on what's going on in Hollywood now. Who cares anymore? It's also segmented anyway.
Right.
You know, you just like what you like and appreciate what is being presented to you as it's being presented to you. Just kind of like the way I sort of approach the whole shifting of characters, Bail Organa from Jimmy Smits to Benjamin Bratt, you know?
Yeah.
I just sort of tried to go with the flow with that. And at first I was a little put off because I don't think that Benjamin Bratt necessarily fills the physical space a Jimmy Smits does.
Jimmy Mack is very sizist, so you know.
I really, really am. I mean, I like the way certain actors fill a frame of film, you know? I just like how that all works. And I grow very comfortable with that. And Star Wars has always been traditionally that film franchise that would establish these characters that you could identify simply from their silhouettes. Am I right?
Yeah. I see that.
I think I've been very conditioned by that over the years. And when I see a silhouette of Jimmy Smits and I see a silhouette of Benjamin Bratt, I notice a difference. I do. However, I do think both gentlemen are incredible actors, and I could nitpick what Benjamin Bratt brought to the Bail Organa role, and I could nitpick what Jimmy Smits brings to the role, and put them face to face and choose what I like about each of them. But I'm not going to let myself go down that path. I think that I do fully accept Benjamin Bratt in the role, and I'm very curious to see, should Bail Organa show up in future stories, which actor will be playing him? Will it be the older Jimmy Smits, who's in his 70s, or will it be the younger Benjamin Bratt, who is in his 60s? It's, where is the needle going to drop? And will it ever drop again? Will we ever see Bail Organa again?
Good
or
question.
Has that story been told now? I mean, have we seen everything that we can expect to see from characters who were heavily involved in the lead up to the original trilogy? And Bail is, he's a holdover from the Clone Wars too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we saw Jimmy Smits return to the role in the Kenobi series. But I think perhaps Jimmy Smits asked for that $6 million payday to come back to the role in Andor, and they told him to go away and called Benjamin Bratt right away. And Ben said, sure, I'll do it for $3 million. And then Kathy goes, he's doing it for half of what Bail wanted. Or Jimmy Smits, or whatever his name is. So, but I do like Benjamin Bratt, and I think it was controversial amongst fans, that switcheroo. I think Tony Gilroy was super sharp in the way that he sort of revealed this information. He teased it at first, and then made it very noticeable when Benjamin Bratt showed up just for a brief cup of coffee in that first episode when it was Mon Mothma and
it's Mon and her husband. It was Mon and Perrin.
It was Mon and Perrin walking into Davo Sculdun's party.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Davo lived in a structure that looked very much like the Coruscant Opera House, I will say. But yeah, so we got that brief taste of Benjamin playing Bail just in that high and by moment. And I thought that was brilliant, because Tony Gilroy then, before the big meaty stuff happened for Bail Organa, he exposed us to the new actor playing the character in a sort of a high and by kind of thing. And we were then prepared.
Right. You don't want to introduce a new Bail Organa in the war room on Yavin.
Yeah, right.
That's not where to do it. You got to prime the pump a little bit. Get us used to it. Get us acclimated.
Yeah.
Warm up the water before you boil us.
So the pump was primed, and Benjamin Bratt then fully absorbed the role of Bail Organa. So Benjamin appeared on ABC's Good Morning America, GMA, to you super fans, ABC's GMA. This is really the first time I ever heard him talk about having that role as Bail. You know, he was the guy who took it over from Jimmy Smits. And like I said, I know it upset some fans, but Benjamin Bratt, he looks at it as like, wow, this is something. I love Star Wars ever since I was a kid, and now I'm in Star Wars, and that's something that I think he considers to be rather precious. So let's hear what he told GMA about playing Bail Organa in Andor.
Well, let's start with, it's been more than 50 years that I was one of those welfare kids in San Francisco who was in line around the block at the Coronet Theater on Gary Boulevard in my hometown of San Francisco, waiting to experience this life-altering film as it was being described back then. And to be, thrown into a situation, half a century later where I'm actually playing within that Star Wars universe is mind-bending.
Can you remember seeing it the first time? You remember?
I do remember it, and I never forgot it. Every day I was on set, and joining the show was a little bit of a challenge because this is a series that's been running for 2 years. There are 2 seasons, and I came sort of at the last minute. It was a little bit like jumping off a bridge onto a boxcar of a moving train. So I don't know how I've landed yet, and I believe that to audiences to decide. But yeah, part of that challenge, George, was stepping into the shoes of Jimmy Smits, who originated the role of Senator Bail Organa. And we all know and love Jimmy. He's a legendary actor as far as I'm concerned, and the imprint and impression he made as Bail Organa was daunting, to say the least. But I had a great support system around me, really wonderful actors. The artisans on this set are just amazing.
Michael Strahan's sitting there going like, this guy keeps, you could just read the thought cloud over Michael Strahan's head. It's like, this guy keeps talking about Bail Organa. I don't know who the hell he's talking. I know Luke Skywalker. I know Han Solo. I know Chewbacca. I know C-3PO. I know R2-D2. I know Yoda. I know Lando Calrissian. Who is Bail Organa? What is he talking about? Oh, Jimmy Smits. I still don't know who Bail Organa is. Damn. Are we going to be taking a commercial break anytime soon? You can just see it. You can just see his eyes are sort of spinning right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
But Benjamin Bratt, so
seems like he had a great time. He recognized how momentous this was in his career, but also understood that there was a guy that came before him, and that guy is Jimmy Smits, and he seems to have a lot of respect for Jimmy. And I saw another interview. I don't know if it was this interview where he talked about how he doesn't know him real well, but they do know one another, and so there is a friendly relationship there.
I wonder if they ever work together. It'd be like as roommates. Like it could be an odd couple. It'd be like, or it could be a sitcom. It could be a sitcom. My Two Bales. It's something like that. That's something they should consider for Disney Plus. Having Benjamin Bratt and Jimmy Smits together playing the same character in a Star Wars sitcom called My Two Bales.
You loved him in Rogue One. You loved him in Andor Season 2. Now it's time for both. My Two Bales. One kid, 2 Bales. All right.
I'm trying to laugh at this without wheezing.
Yeah, sorry. You don't want to do that. You'll upset the listeners when they're listening with their 8-year-olds.
And the moms. So now my laugh is this. Because I can't do my traditional. Now I have to be like, all right.
Yeah, do it like George.
God, is that what you want? Don't you embrace the wheeze? Embrace it. It's so much fun. Okay, so
You'll
that
be my
is
Wheezy.
Wheezy. So that is Benjamin Bratt.
Okay,
and he is one cool dude.
If I die fighting the Empire, I want to go down swinging.
Rebel Force Radio.
May the Force be with you.
Rebel Force Radio.
This is Sam Witwer, and you're listening to Rebel Force Radio with Jason and Jimmy Mack, your source for the Force.
I have been waiting for you.
Can we hear a little bit about Sam Witwer talking
Let's talk about
this?
Sam Witwer.
Yeah, he talked a little bit to Rotten Tomatoes about the Maul Shadow Lord show. I think they're calling it simply Maul Shadow Lord. They're not calling it Darth Maul because I don't think he identifies as a Darth at this time in his
just Maul.
evil career. He's just Maul.
Maul, right.
He's just good old Maul. And here's Sam. There's a lot of things that I'm very curious about this new animated series. It's obviously going to be made in the traditional, with the traditional Clone Wars tone and vibe. It's a lot of the geniuses that worked on Clone Wars and Rebels. They're going to be working on this show, Maul's Shadow Lord. Sam, I believe, is even serving not only as the chief vocal talent, but I think he's serving as a producer on the show as well. And he dropped some hints about this mysterious new animated series, Maul Shadow Lord, which will be dropping next year.
This guy has always had aspects of being the puppet master. There's a 15-year stretch of history where we don't know what he was up to. So we're starting to explore that. I've always felt that the character had potential for all kinds of things. And I remember when we were like working on Clone Wars and stuff like that, I would come up with certain ideas that I would throw out to Dave. I'd be like, what if this happens? Or little detailed things. What if that happens? And he would say on more than one occasion, yeah, well, it's a great idea, Sam, but this isn't Maul's show. You can't really take the time for that kind of detail when it's not Maul's perspective. And little did I know he was thinking long term that this character had potential as a point of view character. And our show has a few of those, few point of view characters. But Maul's point of view, as you imagine, is twisted. He's still a nasty guy, but we get to ask certain fun questions. Like, now that the Empire is here, because this takes place a year after the Clone Wars, now that the Empire has arrived, what does he think of it? Is this what he expected? Is this what he signed up for? Now that the Jedi are gone, what does he think of them? Has his opinion changed? This is a world in which Obi-Wan Kenobi, according to Maul, is likely dead. There's nothing there. How does Maul train an apprentice? Not how do the Sith. How does Maul train an apprentice? So we get to ask some very interesting questions.
Okay. So there were times, apparently, according to Sam, when he wanted more Maul. He wanted to put more meat on the Maul bone, so to speak, and Filoni had to reel him in and say, Sam, this isn't really, it's not your show. It's not your show, Sam.
We had to have those arguments with him about Rebel Force Radio back in the day. He'd always be like, gentlemen, the way I would podcast would be, we'd be like, Sam, it's not your show. Gentlemen,
Well, look, so I like the way he frames this as a point of view character and non-point of view characters. I'm going to use that. I like that. I like that framing.
Point of view, yeah.
Maul
I thought that stood
a
out to
point
me
of
as
view
well, too.
character.
Yeah,
very, very different from just him being a tool to the storytellers. He's informing how we are seeing the events as they unfold on the show. That's a very, very different role for this character, for Darth Maul. And here's the thing that I start to grow a little tired of, and that is this just over-reliance on anti-heroes. We were talking about it with Asajj Ventress. Asajj Ventress went from being a villain who was pretty black and white, bad guy, bad girl, and she sort of softened and grew, and now she's kind of somewhere in between. Are there no just bad guys anymore? Are there just no? They all have to be sympathetic, and they were working on sympathetic Maul before this. I think the whole thing in Rebels, he was really kind of pathetic, still running around there.
Old master, when he was old master.
Oh, right.
Jeez. Swank. Good look. You know what? Somebody should set that as their alarm to wake them up in the morning.
That's a great one.
Yeah, let's just see what your disposition is like throughout the day after being woken up with Jeez.
Send it to the back row, Sam. To the back row on that.
Yeah, you don't want to cross my path at the day job after I get woken up by that. You go right back to your cubicle in sales because, no, we aren't going to be doing things on a light side kind of way today. It's all dark side. But so that's an interesting thing, though, is that if you are going to use your antagonist as a point of view character, you obviously have to create some sort of sympathy among the audience and compassion for the character among the audience so they'll stick with the character.
Sure.
Unless, of course, you want to have but like it's the point of view. That's such that's a really definitive way to describe the show. It's not like Maul is going to be the antagonist throughout this, and we will have like a central hero character like hunting Maul throughout it all, which I think could be kind of a compelling way to do a show. But it's going to be the life of Maul, essentially, post Clone Wars, and what he did and how he ended up in that place on Malachor, and how he... Well, we know how he learned about Kenobi. It was by having that mind meld with Ezra Bridger and putting the Sith holocron together with the Jedi holocron and the insights that Maul and Ezra drew off of that, I think really motivated Maul then to go to Tatooine and have that final showdown way past his prime against Obi-Wan Kenobi, who, was past his prime as well, too, let's face it.
Sure.
And, so it's going to be interesting. I think that's the end game, though, for the series, is placing Maul on Malachor. So he'll be there waiting Ezra Bridger in Star Wars Rebels. And also, I think there is a great opportunity to finally, once and for all, have a canonical showdown of some sort between Darth Vader and Darth Maul, which is something I've been dying to see ever since the early 2000s. And Dark Horse comic books had a title called Star Wars Tales, which was like a what if in the Star Wars universe. And one of those, the cover art for one of them was a wanted poster, or was, no, not a wanted poster. It was more like an old, like, bill that you would see posted on a fence or on a street lamp or something, promoting the bout of the century between Darth Maul and Darth Vader. Yeah, get your tickets now. And I mean, nothing as cheesy as that, but an actual showdown between Vader and Maul, I think, would be really interesting and compelling. It doesn't have to be definitive, ending in the death of either. Obviously, you can't do that as far as the Star Wars saga and the canon goes. But just to have some sort of showdown between the two of them, I felt like it was a missed opportunity in Star Wars Rebels, and I think they got a second chance now with the Maul series. Really compelling stuff. I was going to drop an S-bomb right there, but I know I'm getting real loosey-goosey behind the mic lately. I think it has to do with Joe Dallas coming to Chicago, and he's got a real loosey-goosey edge to him, and I don't think I heard the guy curse a single time. Meanwhile, I swear like a sailor, and my house is like the Osbournes, and I'm surprised that I have the discipline to be behind a microphone and not commonly drop 4-letter words or curse words or one of the 7 dirty words, according to George Carlin, or the banned words, whatever.
Yeah.
But the podcast goes on, and we're looking forward to Maul Shadow Lord dropping some point in 2026, and I anticipate there will be live after shows for each one of those episodes. Hopefully it'll be a big, meaty season.
Yeah,
Not
let's
like
hope.
just 8 episodes. Like I would like, back in the old Clone Wars days, they would go, 20 to 24 episodes.
Oh, I don't think we'll get that. That would be nice, but
No, I don't think we'll get that either.
I think we'll get the
But
12,
let's face
the
it.
Bad Batch 12.
The Bad Batch 12. I
Yeah.
like the Bad Batch 12. I like the idea of that. So, Maul Shadow Lord coming to RFR after shows next year.
Yeah. So let's talk about Mark Hamill and all those headlines and clickbait links all over the internet saying Mark Hamill is quitting Star Wars. Mark Hamill, he's out. No more Luke Skywalker. So the backstory on this, and he clarifies, but this is all stemming from an interview that he did with comicbook.com at the end of May. He's out there promoting this, what's the name of this? The movie, The Life of Chuck. This movie.
Yes.
The Life of Chuck. And he said, he goes, quote, "I am so grateful to George for letting me be a part of that back in the day. We never expected it to become a franchise or a permanent franchise and a part of pop culture like that. But my deal is I had my time. I'm appreciative of that, but I really think they should focus on the future and all the new characters." Okay. So then all of a sudden that set everybody ablaze. Variety, Screen Rant, Hollywood Reporter, they all went, Mark Hamill, giving up Star Wars. Mark Hamill says no more Star Wars. He's done. He's through. And so when he showed up on the Today Show, he had a little bit of explaining to do. And I believe he addresses all of that in this clip, right?
Yeah. He's directly asked the question about, are you done with Luke Skywalker for good? Is this something Mark wouldn't have said that so readily until he waited for 30 years for the inevitable return of his character. He had been told back in the late 70s, early 80s, that the saga would continue. After a long period of time off, he would be called in to reprise his role as Luke Skywalker. And he had to have always been looking forward to that, or always thinking about it, considering the possibilities. And then they got presented to him in the form of The Force Awakens, a last-minute cameo at the very end of the film, and The Last Jedi, which Mark famously has made many comments about in the press, saying that he disagreed with every decision Ryan Johnson made concerning the character of Luke Skywalker in that film. So Mark he crossed that finish line. Something that it's a carrot that had been dangled in front of him for his entire career, including all of those years of downtime when he couldn't find any work because everybody looked at him and saw Luke Skywalker and couldn't work their way around it. Now, he's in a place where he finally got that chance to return to the character. He did it. It's done. And guess what? All of a sudden, Hollywood loves him, and he is working more in film than he has in the past 3 decades. And I think that's the greatest thing. I think justice has finally been served to Mark Hamill in the shape of a renaissance in his film career, which is richly deserved because Mark is a very good actor. So I think it's easy for him to say now that he's done with Star Wars in interviews like he did with the comic book website. But here he is talking to GMA on ABC.
The Today Show.
Is it? No, I'm sorry, Today.
Show.
This is NBC.
Willie Geist.
I'm sorry. This is Willie Geist. And he directly asks Mark Hamill about those comments he made concerning the future or lack thereof for Luke Skywalker.
So our time is short. I know you've got to run, and I appreciate all your time. You've said recently that you're done with Star Wars. Is that safe to say?
Well, I don't want to make a big pronouncement like this is my decision. I'm just saying that it really felt like a conclusion. My character was given complete closure. I died, ironically, by overdosing on the Force, I might point out. But, that seemed to be, and once the Skywalker trilogy was over, it was a whole new era for them. George gave them this amazing canvas, the entire galaxy. They can do westerns, mysteries, comedies, whodunits, anything within that realm of the Star Wars. And they're doing so well. I love Rogue One, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. I just think it's time. I had my time. I'm really appreciative, but I'm really looking to the future for all these new projects. But I do know when I mention anything about the space movies, it gets extra scrutiny as opposed to me talking about anything else. And I said that, and then I saw headlines, Mark Hamill quit Star Wars. Well, let me say, they haven't asked me. It's not like they said, please come back.
And Luke died. There's that, too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, come on. How much can you do with a Force Ghost? I'd like to see a movie set all in the Force Ghost realm. I could have conversation with Alec Guinness and all of
now you're giving them ideas.
From your lips to God's ears.
Ha! Okay, so here's my problem with this, though. This is why you really need people like me and Jimmy Mack to interview Mark Hamill and not Willie Geist or comicbook.com. Because here's the thing I would say. I'd go, yeah, I get it, Mark. I understand. I watched the movies. I know that the character has a beginning, middle, and end, and he dies. But guess what? We saw you come back in The Mandalorian and in the Book of Boba Fett, and that you can help create a young Luke Skywalker, whether it be through your voice or through motion capture or whatever it is, you're able to do that. So, yeah, we get it that the character is chronologically dead if we're talking about new stuff that comes after, but you know that Star Wars is not a story that's told in any kind of chronological order. They're always going back. So what about an animated series? What about helping to create Luke Skywalker again for The Mandalorian? Could he show up? They're going to do a Mandalorian movie on the big screen. Mark, are you going to be in that? Like, that's what I don't understand, these interviewers. Oh, I died. I had an overdose in the Force, and I'm naked because I didn't take my robes with me. All these goofy comments that he makes, which are funny. But that's not what we're asking. That's what the fans know. There's always an opportunity for you to come back. And as far as the scrutiny goes, yeah, because it's the biggest thing you've ever done. It's the biggest thing that most people have ever done when they're in a Star Wars. So, of course, people care about it. So when you talk about it, they're going to go, ooh, what? He's talking Star Wars? Because we love you, and we want to see, and we love Luke Skywalker. That's what it's about. But this whole notion of, well, I died. Yeah, we get it. You also did a couple of massive cameos as Luke Skywalker after you died. So enough.
Where do you draw the line? Well, I think he was very honest at one point where he goes, well, they haven't asked me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was the right. That was the money. That was the money line right there.
I think the point Mark is trying to make is that he still sees some road ahead as far as his career goes. He's not done yet.
Right.
Despite the fact the man is in his 70s now. He still has the energy and wants to continue acting. He probably looks at Harrison Ford as, still the big brother to Luke Skywalker,
Right.
Han Solo. And he goes, Harrison's still going strong in his 80s. Why shouldn't I? And I think Mark is very grateful for the fact that his sail has wind in it now. And he is being hired to perform in films in a vast variety of roles beyond the typical stereotyping kind of casting that he had to endure. I mean, he turned down a lot of roles because of that stereotyping over the years. It wasn't until Carrie Fisher had a heart-to-heart with Mark and said, "Hey, pal, you need to embrace your place in cinematic history as Luke Skywalker, as opposed to looking at it as a roadblock for future gigs." And I think once Mark started doing that, a lot of things improved in his professional life. I really do. And now we're seeing him getting the full, the fruits of his labor are all coming to bear because he deserves this, man. He deserves this, and he did exactly what he was told to do in those sequel films. He debated it with Ryan Johnson, And he let everyone know that he had hangups about the direction they were taking Luke in. But when it was said and done, he turned in a fantastic performance in The Last Jedi. Whether you agree with the direction they took his character in or not, the guy is a true professional, and he plowed through that role and delivered one of the best performances in his career. I personally believe. He did what he was supposed to do. He's a professional. And now, having to go through all of that, he's getting roles, more roles in films than he's seen in 3 decades. And I'm so happy for that. And if the phone rings again with another opportunity to reprise his character of Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, I guarantee you Mark Hamill will answer the call, being the professional he is. And The Life of Chuck seems interesting and something that I want to see because I'm a fan of Mark Hamill's.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see that he's plowing forward with some variety in his career and getting himself a lot of work. He's going from Life of Chuck. He has other things lined up now. But Life of Chuck is what he's out there promoting, and he appeared on the Stephen Colbert show, Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Colbert. What's the matter with me? Colbert. That tells you how often I watch the dude's show.
I was going to say, clearly Max heard of Stephen Colbert before.
I've heard of him, but I don't really.
Yeah.
All right. So Mark is on this media tour promoting Life of Chuck, and he appeared on Late Show with Stephen Colbert, whatever is flipping Colbert.
There is the problem. You got Cubert on the brain. That's what's going on.
Oh, damn
Too
you,
much
Joe
time.
Dallas.
It goes back to Joe Dallas. It all goes back. We're going to have to call this episode Joe Dallas Strikes Back.
Joe in
living rent-free in Max Head.
His brand of Key West insanity that he brings to Illinois every so often has affected me to the core. Stephen Colbert.
There you go.
He appeared on Late Show with Stephen Colbert earlier this month, and they did this little pre-show bit where it's kind of a joke about May the 4th be with you and June the 4th. And apparently this is when Mark appeared on The Late Show, was earlier this month, June the 4th. So they came up with a little pre-show bit with Mark. It's like one of those situations where Stephen Colbert walks into his dressing room to sort of have a little pep talk with him before the show begins. I mean, God, they've been doing this since like Letterman, you know?
Yeah.
And here it is happening with Stephen Colbert and Mark Hamill.
Oh, hey, Stephen.
Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for being on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk about my new movie, The Life of Chuck.
Yeah, me too. But before anybody else, I just wanted to say, June the 4th be with you.
Say what?
You know, Star Wars Day, June the 4th, be with you.
Yeah, that's not even a thing. I think you're thinking about May the 4th be with you. But again, The Life of Chuck. It's based on a Stephen King novella.
Oh, no. Last month was May. Now it's June the 4th, as in Ajunta Paul, the first Dark Lord of the Sith. So, June the 4th, be with you.
Look, can we not focus too much on the space movies? That was a long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away, I know. Hey, check it out. I even made shirts.
I have no idea who that is.
Ajunta Paul, the manifestation of Typhogem, the left-handed god. He never appears in the movies, but his tomb is a side quest in an Xbox game, so it's canon.
Stephen, I love your enthusiasm for this stuff.
You're welcome.
But personally, I've moved on to other things.
Right, like your new movie, The Life of Chuck. We're going to talk about that tonight.
Let's just leave the other stuff in the past.
Sure, we should focus on today.
Absolutely.
And today's date is?
June the 4th.
And with you also.
Talk about he's just going to keep hitting that hammer. You know, he's just going to keep plowing. June the 4th.
Some Wikipedia fact checkers there to make sure that Colbert was spouting all truths when he was talking about junta and all that. I'm sure it was. He's a bit, you know what he is? He's more of a Lord of the Rings guy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't know how to even pronounce his own last name properly. It's Colbert. So Mark appeared on the show. You know, he did the whole sit down with Steven. There, you know, Steven behind the desk, Mark in the hot seat. And Mark offered this blow-by-blow account of what went down when the pants incident happened at the BAFTAs. He's presenting this award on stage and all of a sudden has this wardrobe malfunction of epic proportions. And we said, how did this happen, though, is what we kept. How does a professional actor who's been involved in show business since the early 70s get up on stage at an award show without a belt on? I mean, his pants, or I mean, even suspenders, for crying out loud. Why did his pants drop to the floor? Well, we find out. See, what I was thinking was like Mark is taking Ozempic. He lost so much weight that his tux just fell off of him.
Yeah.
And,
well, I was actually thinking it was a rental tux, and you know how they have those little clasps on the side, and like the clasps came undone, and the pants just fell down. That's what I thought.
Okay, well, Mark explains exactly what happened. It was the pants incident at BAFTAs 2025 that drew headlines from around the globe. And Mark explains to Stephen Colbert exactly what happened.
I tried those pants on twice. Once at the house in California, and he fitted them, and he said, "How are they?" I said, "Fine, a little snug, but they'll do." And he said, "Well, I can." I said, "You can let them out of skosh." So cut to us in London with the car outside, 20 minutes before we were supposed to leave. I put the pants on. He let them out 4 or 5 inches. I mean, luckily, our dresser, Mary, had a safety pin, and she pinned them in the back. And so I thought I was good to go. They introduced me, and as I start walking to the podium, I feel the pin pop. And every step I took, they slipped lower and lower and lower. I'm not kidding you. They were at my knees by the time I got to the podium. And when they went to the clip, I looked over to find my wife, but my eyes landed on Demi Moore. And so I mouthed to Demi Moore, "Did you see my pants fall down?" You know what her reaction was?
2 thumbs up.
Hey. Nice.
Oh, Mark is so embarrassed. Look at him. He's burying his face in his hands. He's just, the recollection of this is just, oh, God.
Nightmare. I mean,
we all felt so bad for
they made cartoons about this. People coming out on stage and their pants falling off or being depantsed on stage. It was like, I mean, this is like quintessential nightmare fuel.
Oh, yeah. And you know that old thing they always tell people when they have stage fright? Oh, just imagine the audience is nude. Imagine they have no clothes on. And that will give you that like edge, you know, where you have the upper hand on the audience.
Confidence.
Well, I mean, the tables were turned with Mark, you know.
Yeah, Demi Moore was picturing him with no pants.
Oh my God, what a nightmare. And so this is our Luke Skywalker, for crying out loud, the original Jedi. And so he talks to Stephen Colbert about the pants incident, the wardrobe malfunction, and sort of like he talks about the aftermath. And he did accept some props from some big-time A-listers for the way he handled the whole situation.
I just willed myself. I was like hypnosis. I was trying to beam into the audience. You did not see my pants fall down. It's all an illusion. And I stuck to the teleprompter and didn't acknowledge it. I didn't want to make a joke or anything and bring attention to it. The director later said, from the front, the podium blocked it. It's only on the sides where people saw your pants around your knees. Oh my God.
Were there any people on the side?
Yeah. My wife for one, and Demi Moore for 2.
Not bad company, not bad
I have
audience.
to tell you, both Ed Norton and Timothy Chalamet came up to me at the after party and said, dude, that was a master class in professionalism. Because I thought, if I don't acknowledge it and act like nothing happened, maybe there's enough delusional people in the audience that didn't see it.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything.
You know what? That is absolutely the truth. That is absolutely the truth. Because Mark, you know, the instincts kick in when you're in a theater actor, a stage actor. You know, you just sometimes got to roll with whatever is happening around you. And he did, and they're absolutely right. You watch the video, the broadcast, you don't really see anything. You just see him kind of reaching down and kind of, you know, and his voice is a little shaky, so you know something's a little off, or he's concerned about something. But he did exactly what he should have done in that moment, and because it wasn't really time for a joke. And, you know, Mark, oh my God. Look, he's no stranger to making a wisecrack and being self-effacing, but it wasn't the right moment for that. So he just kept going.
Not at the BAFTAs.
Not at the BAFTAs, no.
You got an audience of mostly stiff-lipped, upper-crust people watching you at that thing. And yes, he made the right move, you know.
Yeah.
In live radio, they always tell me throughout my entire broadcasting career, it's like never draw attention to something that goes south live on the air. You know, just try to plow ahead. Keep your head down. I've always been told, keep your head down, keep your back against the wall, and just move ahead. That was, I mean, gosh, that's been burned into me after all these years. And so I sort of get the approach that Mark Hamill was taking there. However, I mean, I think there was an opportunity for him to pull off some very memorable shtick in that moment, you know. I'm so excited my pants don't even stay on, you know, and he should have just like kicked off the trousers completely and walked off the stage in nothing but boxer shorts and loafers. You know, I mean, that would be really memorable, really hilarious, and perhaps not so embarrassing.
I just want to know, where was the cummerbund? You know, you're wearing a tuxedo. You got to have the cummerbund. If you don't have the cummerbund, you got to have the suspenders. You wear suspenders with tux trousers. You got to do it.
Typically. Yeah. But I don't think the cummerbund would have saved the day. It only covers up so much, you know.
That's true.
Julie, get us out of here!
Well, that's going to wrap things up for us here this week on Rebel Force Radio. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. What a fun show. Hope you enjoyed it. We had a good time here on this side of the speaker, or headphones, or AirPods, whatever you're listening on. Also want to remind you that there are lots of ways you can support us here at Rebel Force Radio. But before we talk about supporting RFR, we want to remind you one last time about supporting Rancho Obi-Wan. Get those tickets. Go to ranchoobi-wan.org. You can just click on the picture of me and Mac, and you can get those few precious remaining tickets for the big event, RFR at ROW, September 6th. Get your tickets today. And Patreon's another way you can help us out here. Patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Get the weekly full show video. Exclusive podcasts that you can't find anywhere else. You're not going to find those on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. No. And it's a great community of Star Wars fans, the best in the whole wide world, the whole galaxy, far, far away, this galaxy, any galaxy. Also, another thing that we really, really would love you to do, which is check us out over on YouTube. We have a ton of video content over there that's absolutely free. All you got to do is just go to youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio, search for RFR, search for Rebel Force Radio, find the page over there. Lots of videos. Please watch them. Please like them. Please leave a comment. All those things that YouTube likes. Really appreciate it. And as well as on all of the socials. We're on Instagram. We're on X. We're on Facebook. We got a website, rebelforceradio.com. So keep listening. Wheezing or not, keep listening. And if you can, leave us a review. Whether you like the wheezing or you don't like the wheezing, whether you're watching it with your 8-year-old or not, we read them all. Just one simple rule, please.
Make them good.
We'll see you next time here on Rebel Force Radio. But until then, for RFR, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Kenobi!
Hello there.